All right. You know what it is. You know who it is. I keep forgetting to say that.
That's all right. You said it today. That's all
Welcome
that
back
matters.
to the BG Perform podcast with our last episode of season one. Here with my co host, Coach Jerry Hayes.
What's
Coach Jerry
up?
Hayes, how was the week?
It was great. Got some good lifts in. Got to explore a little this weekend. Walk around. Sore, you know, sore, but feeling good.
All right.
Just came to an end of the program I was doing, so we're just gonna explore a little bit and see what we want to do as far as like next program goes. So I went on to like this little maintenance thing, but we're feeling good going into it.
I know what
Get
you
a
should
little
do
bit
next.
leaner too, so yeah, we're killing it. What'd you just do? Injecting in your
Steroids.
veins? Oh, steroids. Yep, looking into some steroids.
There we go.
Some
That's the next
serious usage.
progression. That's the next progression.
Never prescribed by a doctor. I'm going black market for them. I
Black
want to make sure I get the
market
real
trend.
deal. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Beautiful. I'm glad the week
How
was
about
good.
you?
It was good. It was a good week. Good training. Good coaching. Started a new client this week. Today was his first day. It was really good.
Nice.
Had a busy day today. Had 3 straight clients this morning, which is good. It just I usually try to split it up a little bit less for the in-person ones, just so I'm like 100% focused. Had my training session in between. Had Coach Connect Part 3 today. We talked about like program design and building the perfect session, and then had filming for the MFOD, the movement fix of the day, which I post every Monday. And now we're here diving into our episode for today. We're going to be talking about the difference between coaching for likes versus coaching for results and how it's kind of shifted everything in fitness and how social media has kind of been really flooded with this for a while now, really the last 10 years. And it's kind of, in my
It's
opinion,
only getting worse.
yeah. Well, I don't know, because I do see a lot of people who are almost like combating it now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's
There are a
coming
few
in a
accounts
different
that are
way,
starting to.
but I think a lot of people are combating that notion of like coaching for likes as opposed to actually coaching. And obviously, like there's some clear things we'll talk about today for reasons why I think it's exploded and like caused as much, I guess we'll say, damage as it has inside of like the fitness community.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there is a light at the end of the tunnel with it, because I do think it can only go so far. And I think we're kind of getting to that point where a lot of people are, like I said, realizing it and coming out in favor of real coaching. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I will say though, I've seen a lot of like new ads that are strictly AI. And it's
Yeah,
driving
that's
me
been
nuts. Like
weird.
I've gotten the same ad where this guy's like, "I'm 50 and doctors hate me," and it's like, "Oh, we're doing that thing again." Doctors hate him, and he's like standing on stage, like clearly it's like a 20-year-old's body, AI face, and he's like, "And this is what you got to do. You need to do Pilates." And it's like, "Oh my god, here we go." Like, yeah, he got that body doing Pilates. Yeah, not injecting a needle into his cheeks, but it's whatever.
Yeah, and I think one of the things with all of that is obviously combating that in a way that's, because I do think we'll get into it, but I do think like combating that in the wrong way can actually draw people closer to it, and I think it's kind of like teaching rather than telling, and I think it's a
Yeah.
big thing that we need to do as coaches. But yeah, I think just starting off, like the question needs to be asked, like what is the difference between coaching for likes versus coaching for results, right? And we kind of wrote out a couple different things before we started this episode, but for me, I think coaching for likes looks like a couple things. It looks like forcing movements that look cool rather than like are effective, right? Not choosing what's in the best interest for the client at hand. You're just kind of like choosing what you think looks best as opposed to like what the client actually needs. Choosing short-term gain over long-term success. So maybe you're choosing, what might look cool, and you'll see a huge, spark in the next 2 weeks, rather than what's going to actually teach someone that they can sustain for the next, 10, 15 years of their life, right? And I think this idea of like filming over coaching, and this is something that like I've even thought more into, is like, when do I need a camera in coaching? when is the right time, who are the right people to do it with, because I do think it's something where, as a client, if you're just getting a camera shoved in your face all the time, it can be exhausting, because sometimes you just, you're not always there to just be on camera. Like, you actually want to work out, and I think with fitness, it's become so, I guess the word would be, I don't know. I like you. It's almost become like a social media show, or like a TV show at times, where it's like, trainers are diving into so much more than like the actual workout, and they're trying to make it more than the workout, because I think that working out in its truest form is kind of boring, you know.
Hmm.
But what are some ideas you have in regards to like coaching for likes? Like, what does that look like?
I always think of the same. Well, I think of two things. The first one is LeBron on in a tall kneeling position
Oh, I think I've seen that on the
on
Bosu ball.
the blow up exercise ball, not a medicine ball that like you slam or
I should be
anything like
careful with
the
that. I almost got canceled because of the Bosu
that was
ball.
I was gonna say the second thing was a joke with Brandon that we could we could quickly mention, but the first one was he was in a tall kneel position on one of those exercise balls, and he's doing like a kettlebell overhead press with like an 8 pound kettlebell, and it's like, dude,
Mhm.
he's LeBron James. He's like 240. What is he, like 6'5"?
LeBron
6'6"?
6'9".
Six, yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah. So what is he doing pressing 8 pound kettlebells overhead? Like, that's coaching for likes. It's like, oh, wow, look at this complex thing he's doing. And then the other thing I think of is when Brandon and Amanda were on a Bosu ball doing a barbell clean, and they weren't coaching for likes, but she just wanted to do it really bad. And Brandon said, we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't post that
I
online.
promise you, I literally told her about 4 times. I was like, please, can we just not do this? Like, I don't think you need to do this. She was like, no, no, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. And she's like, somebody get a camera. I was like, oh. I was like, no. So then I was standing there, and I was deciding whether I wanted to be in the video or not, because I was
Yeah.
like, damn, I was like, I can't really like spot her, and like I can't do anything if she fails. And I
Yeah.
was like, but I might as well just be in the video, because this is gonna go viral,
Yeah.
and like someone's gonna see it and post it, and it's gonna go from there.
Yep.
And yeah, people were a little bit they got a little bit crazy about that.
Well,
And
obviously, they
I
thought it was coming from a serious point, like LeBron's trainer. They thought it was another one of those things. So
Yeah,
obviously,
and
like,
I had to explain to some people. It was good though, because I had a bunch of people who came to me, and I explained, and they were like, "Oh wow, this guy actually knows what he's talking about." Like,
yeah,
it was good. And I
yeah,
got a couple points I had to kind of explain, like, that wasn't me. I told her no. She
yeah,
didn't, like, she wanted to do it for herself. I did not program that, nor would I ever
hmm
program that in
yeah,
my life. Um, so yeah,
yeah.
so I
But
guess it's a little bit different, but I did not condone those actions, and I did say at the bottom of the post that, like, I do not recommend anyone do this,
ever,
just in case.
yeah. So I think of that as like the first couple things, but then the other thing I think of is coaching for likes usually comes in trends, whether it's a trend where it's like an audio that you're voicing over, right? Like people are coaching for likes when they're dancing over with the heavy weight, and it's like when my trainer comes over with the heavy weight, those type of trends. But then
Yeah,
movement trends are really bad too, and there's like a, it's not a general rule, but it should be that if there's a movement trend that's going on, chances are that movement's probably not that effective, because the reason that it's blowing up is because, oh, look at what these people are doing. But it's like, fitness is pretty much figured out by now. If it was worth doing, we would probably be doing it already for the
mm.
most part. There are some what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word? There's some exemptions. What's the word I'm looking for, dude?
uh, yeah, I guess
Exceptions? No,
exceptions, exceptions. Yeah,
there are some exceptions. Jeez, words
I
that,
was just trying to think what you were
like,
going for there.
yeah. Sometimes new exercises come along and people are like, "Oh, dude, I can't believe we haven't been doing this. This is actually really beneficial for whatever reason." But if it's a trend, chances are it's gonna come and go just as fast as the last one.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a good thing to kind of look at too. Like, I think the problem is in today's coaching is we're almost forced to coach for likes. I don't know if I think I talked about this in another episode, but I shared this post to my story from, I think it's Ben Bruno, and he had like the girl crying on the screen dancing, and she was like, when you're an adult and you have to
Oh
dance
yeah.
on TikTok to get people to buy your programs, and she's
Yeah.
like bawling her eyes out. like unfortunately, I think that's part of what happens in coaching now is like you want to make money, you want to sell yourself, and you almost have to like abide by the rules of social media to a certain extent if you're
Yeah.
not creative and you don't have that. And it's like, okay, well, if dancing is the thing, obviously it's an exaggeration, but if dancing is the thing, then like I got to dance to sell my programs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not the case. You know, if you can tell a story or show why you're, a standout as a coach, you can still make a difference. You don't have to go down those same routes. And you see it all the time. Like the problem is I think to stand out in the coaching industry, like boring doesn't stand out. And
Mm-hmm.
like I think everybody really kind of already has an idea of what fitness is, like you said. And for a lot of people it's really hard to stay in shape or to get in shape, and they want to look for a shortcut. So when they see something that's cool and creative, whether it's good or bad, they're like, oh, this looks different, let me try this, this could be the answer, right? And this goes for everything. Like, this is why alcohol and drugs are so popular in the world, because they're short term ways to get out of feeling something, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think with fitness, something that makes you feel cool, whether it's effective or not, is sometimes more important to people than something that actually is effective, right? And
Yeah.
I think as a coach, when you're someone who ends up making a viral post and you get like that dopamine hit, or you get that hit of like, oh, maybe this is the way, and then you continue to do that and you end up leaving what coaching truly is to, go for likes. And this is why I think, I've also tried to really narrow down who I follow on social media in regards to like coaching. Like
Mm-hmm.
I try to make sure the people I see consistently are the ones that I truly trust and that I know are like real coaches. And anybody who gives me, even if they're good stuff, but the content they post is like rage baity, or you know something where it's just trying to get a reaction out of somebody, I leave it, because I don't
Mm-hmm.
need more information. I don't really need to have more things in my life like that. I just need to have people I trust that I can go to and find out the information I think is best, and not be rage baited, or not be made to feel a certain way, or like I just hate when people kind of fear monger, or like put people in a certain position where they have to make a choice rather than just like be in shape. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
huge in nutrition, where people go down the aisle. Like you could be telling me the right stuff, and if you're doing the wrong video or the wrong time, like I'm just not going to watch you, because I think it's just stupid. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's something that the only reason I'm skeptical at the end, or about the end of this whole coaching for likes thing, is because it's essentially the fitness version of, and there are other areas in fitness that it kind of plays a role in, but it's the fitness version of fad diets. Like, and
Yeah.
nutrition has had that for years, and it's never ending. There's always this new thing, whether it was Atkins or Weight Watchers or vegan, carnivore, whatever all these fad diets are, Mediterranean, you name it, dude, paleo. There's a million fad diets that come and go,
Hmm.
and they haven't stopped. So I'm like, that one part of me that is a little skeptical is skeptical for that reason.
Yeah. Well, I think it's always going to be there, but I think
Yeah.
like it seemed like the last few years to me that the majority of what you see was the coaching for likes. Like the
Hmm.
content was coaching for likes. The reactions were like changing things to coach for likes. And then what happens is obviously as people see that, it's very hard to go against that when it's kind of working on social media. And again, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people are in what they do for the money rather than if they
Hmm.
actually like enjoy it. And I think it turns into like, hey, if I can get attention and make money, I'm going to do
Yeah.
this rather than actually be like a great coach, because what's the point, right? But I think getting into this, like I do want to talk about what results driven coaching looks like, because I do think
Hmm.
that's really important. Like I think that obviously we just talked about what the likes coaching looks like, but I think that results driven coaching can be found. I just think it's boring, right? I just think it's everyday stuff. It's everything you need to be doing and the stuff you've been doing for like 10 years, right? Like we had the Coach Connect meeting today, and one of the things we talked about was one of the coaches was like, when I talk to my clients about nutrition and they're like, oh, well, I just don't like to eat the same thing every single day. And the dude was like, well, I've been eating the same breakfast for 10 years. Like, it's sometimes you just have to kind of make sacrifices on that end to get results. And it doesn't mean you have to be that might be extreme, right? Like
Yeah.
that's probably on the extreme end, but it's still the concept of like, if something works, you don't have to, you don't have to fix it. Like if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? And
Hmm.
I think with a lot of this stuff, people want variety in a lot of ways because they don't get it in other parts of their life, and it just makes things a lot more hectic and adds to the stress of getting in shape and dealing with nutrition. So I think like when we talk about results driven coaching, it's literally just like the opposite of what likes driven coaching is, right? Like progression is always the most important thing in a
Hmm.
results driven coach, like getting to the next step, getting you where you want to be, making sure that you're feeling your best, looking your best, performing your best, that type of thing. Creating scalable movement, right? Not creating these absurd, you know, chains of movement. Like I don't know if you've ever seen that dude. I don't know what his name is, but the dude who's got the girl doing like rear foot elevated split squats on a band, or like split squats on a band in the rack,
Oh
like her
yeah.
foot's on the band. It's like
It
doing stuff
creates
like that.
instability.
Well, whatever it is, yeah, I don't know, but it's like when you're doing stuff like that, you know, it looks cool, it gets a
Yeah.
lot of attention, but like 99.9% of the population should not be seeing that and thinking that that's actually a part of training. You know what I mean? And of course, it's with someone who's like in shape and someone who looks the part, and it's just a really hard thing to have to explain to somebody who's not in shape to say that's not real. Like that's not real fitness. That's just like clickbait, right?
You're talking about like the rear foot instead of being on a bench is on a band.
No, 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 no. This is like you've had to have seen this dude.
The front foot is on a band?
So her back foot is like on a bench, and her front foot's on a band in the rack.
That's the RC Cola of a rear foot elevated split squat.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just like, yeah,
Go
and like
Pepsi or Coke. Why are you putting it on a band?
yeah,
That's
or
so
like he
funny.
has another one where he's got the girl in the rack squatting,
Yeah.
and the bar is on the rack, so it's kind of like almost like a makeshift Smith machine, but she's squatting on a band in the rack. So like her feet are on the band, and she's like going through a full range of motion squat, but the bar is like pressed against the rack. So it's like almost a Smith machine, but she's just doing it on a band.
Is he joking?
No, like he's posting this stuff like consistently, and he's gotten like a ton of views from his content. But it's like that type of thing where you'd assume like the dude has a lot of followers, he's got a lot of content, he's got a lot of engagement from the content. So a young coach is going to be like, oh, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do, right? And that's obviously not what you're supposed to do as a coach,
No.
and that's the thing where you fall into. But where I was getting at was scalable movement, right? Where it's like a good coach is going to have movements that have progressions, that has a purpose, that has like a direction. You're not just doing movement just to move. It has an idea and a purpose behind it, so we can get where we need to get, right? Obviously, choosing what's in the best interest of the client, not what's in the best interest of Instagram.
Hmm.
Choosing long-term success over short-term gain, which is again what we mentioned in the like section, which is, you know, if I choose this movement, are they going to be able to maintain this and learn this over the course of 5 years? Or is this going to be something that we use and fizzle out on in 3 weeks? Right. And then last but not least, last but not least, coaching what's necessary, right? Like coaching the things that are absolutely necessary, and not doing things that don't need to be done inside of fitness. And that doesn't mean you don't use variety, right?
Hmm.
That doesn't mean that you don't change things up from time to time. Doesn't mean you don't try new things. But if you know something works, then that's it. Like you don't reinvent the wheel. Keep twisting my words there. You don't reinvent the wheel. You just kind of do what you need to do and make adjustments as you go, right?
Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that because that kind of goes with like filming over coaching, obviously, and then coaching what's necessary. Filming over
Yeah.
coaching is always doing what's flashy.
Yep.
And sometimes, even if you're not filming, coaches will just do whatever they feel makes their client feel like they're doing something important. So like, I don't know, dude, if your client's got a jacked up shoulder and they lack like external rotation and they need to be controlling overhead movements, but they can't, and you're just giving them like a military press or like even literally any type of thing that gets them in a compromised position, over fixing
Hmm.
their lack of strength in their external rotators, that's obviously not a good move. So I think that also comes with coaching experience sometimes. When you have an experienced coach, they feel a little more confident giving an exercise or not giving an exercise that might seem flashy or make the client feel like, ooh, I was really getting a good workout there. Sometimes it's literally just doing what you need to do. Because like you said earlier, like if it's not broken, don't fix it. But if it is broken, definitely fix it.
Yeah,
do what's necessary. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I really think a lot of this, again, stems from coaches having a lack of true education behind coaching, right? And I think there's a lot of education behind biology and anatomy and physiology, but I do think there's like a lack of education behind like real coaching. And I think it's, again, starting to become more and more of a thing that people are doing. But I also think that, you know, there's still a hole to be filled inside of coaching and like real coaching and the details of like, how do I cue somebody? How do I communicate with somebody? How do I enter the room? How do I create trust? How do I create buy-in? Because these types of things will make results driven coaching effective, right? And I think one of the biggest differences from likes driven coaching versus results driven coaching is understanding that likes driven coaching is this short term, really this like short term ego dopamine type of thing inside of coaching, and results driven coaching is giving us what we need over the course of a program, of a session, a week, a month, anything that we're doing to make sure we're getting to that end goal of being in shape or being healthy. And I think this really has changed like the pieces of coaching, and it's really changed how coaches write programs, attract clients, keep clients, and in my eyes, it's easier, right? It's easier to be like a likes driven coach if you can get that attention, you know, because it gives you an opportunity to kind of forget all the skills and all the details and the hard parts of coaching, and makes you really focus on all the things that, again, you know, trying to find all the stuff that just clicks on Instagram, right? Trying to find stuff that gets people's attention, you know, angles of shots. Like this kid that's here from the 518, you know, he's, I won't say his name, but he's blown up on, you know, social media. And it's just like, you know, the stuff he's doing is just like crazy, you know, like more props to him. Like he can squat a fridge, but it's just like, you know, why, you know, that's just, I don't know. I just hate the idea that that's fitness. And I hate the idea that, you know, that for some reason works to get people's attention, because I think at the end of the day, we know that's not real. Like that's not effective fitness, but for some reason it clicks in people's mind that makes sense, and not the fact that, you know, over the course of, you know, which we're going to talk about soon, this 80-year period is like, you're able to hit 1,000 straight workouts. You're able to hit, you know, two years of straight workouts, 10 years of straight workouts, and not missing a day, or doing your 5 days a week and hitting every single exercise and not missing any days or not getting it. Like that type of stuff is really impressive to me. But I think that's true fitness. And I think that's where, you know, again, it's hard for a coach who's not in it for the right reasons to ever see that and actually understand it.
Dude, I wish I could remember. There's a coach, I can't remember her name, dude, and I wish I could, so I could say it so people know, but she prioritizes giving quality information. And when she does, like, she kind of calls out the coaches who just shoot every video, specifically females, who shoot every video from behind, just so like their shorts are pulled way up into their crack. It makes their butt look huge. And she calls out those coaches, and she's like, hey, congratulations, you found a page that every video isn't shot from up my ass, like that type of thing. Yeah. And she actually is really smart. All of her content, like I see it and I'm like, yeah, true. And her content is much higher quality in terms of information than any girl who films from behind like that. So obviously if you look at like her insights page on Instagram, most of the people who follow her are women. If you look at like somebody else, like a coach who films from behind, it's just men. So they're not even like reaching people who care. It's just people.
Yeah, and I think that's like the biggest thing. It's just like, are you willing to stand out and do what you need to do to become like an actually respected coach, or are you
Yeah.
just trying to be in this to get a couple numbers on Instagram and a couple likes and make some money, right?
I think
And
that's one of the best ways to get these reels to go in the direction we need is for more people to find coaches like that girl, or at least understand like what's happening. So like you said, like information and knowledge is, excuse me, the main factor that's going to determine whether or not the coaching for likes kind of goes in the right direction.
yeah, and I think it's also hard because I think anybody who's looking online for help in fitness, I mean, it's plain and simple. The information, everybody has the information nowadays, right? And it's really just dependent on either how you look, how you speak, or how you get people's attention. That's really what it is. And I think there's a few things in coaching that can really change things, right? Like if you look a certain way, you're going to catch someone's eye and they're probably going to think, wow, this person probably knows what they're talking about, right? If you have like a resume or you have a bunch of athletes that you've worked with, or you have a long history of training people at the highest level, you're probably going to say, hey, this person probably knows what they're talking about. If you have a history of yourself of being consistent in training and, going through it, people probably aren't going to look at that and say like, hey, that moves the needle for me, right? And that doesn't mean that someone who doesn't have like the resume or the body or whatever doesn't know what they're talking about, but people need some type of thing to decipher. And I think that's where this starts to, get lost, is that there's a lot of information on social media and people are just looking to decipher like what is the right information. How do I know who's telling the truth? And realistically, if you look at some of this stuff, people are all saying the same thing for the most part, right? Like you have to squat, you have to bench, you have to row, you have to lunge, and new coaches are coming out with the same thing. And then it's just kind of being trickled down from like the people who have the followers, and then everybody else is kind of like taking that content and just putting it out to try to get likes and views. It's just becoming like this hamster wheel, right? Behind the scenes, there's great coaches who maybe don't do that or aren't willing to put themselves in a position like that, or don't want to, I guess, subject themselves to that type of marketing, and they just want to coach. So it's like, how can we, I guess one of the like next aspects, like how can we better build up the real side of coaching and introduce it to the public eye in a way that they can enjoy it, and also they can see what real training looks like. And I think one of the ways to do that really is to create the story behind coaching, right? To show, the real results of people who, not everybody's going to look like a supermodel, right? Like not everybody's going to have long hair or, a 12 pack or, the body of a Greek god. But there are a lot of people who are going to lose 10 pounds. There are a lot of people who are going to learn to do a movement, who are going to be able to touch their toes, who are going to be able to lift their grandkids up. And I think a lot of that stuff relates better. And I think in the last 20 to 30 years, especially since social media has like really taken off, there's been a lot of comparison. There's been a lot of like, hey, this person has something that I don't, I want it. Or, a lot of people who lie on social media to make it seem like they're in a better position. And you don't know that these people aren't on, steroids. You don't know that these people aren't taking things, or one of my favorites, this dude, I think his name's Goob on
Goob you.
Instagram. Yeah. He calls out all the guys and girls who like Photoshop, or like there was this one girl and she had like she was like walking down New York Street and her pants and her butt were like this. And he was showing the video from while she was walking, and the street was like curving as she was walking, and people were curving as she was walking. And he's like, and this girl had like, I think like 50,000 followers or something like that, or maybe even more. I don't remember the exact followers she had, but it was something like that where this dude like, and I love it when he calls him out, because he's like, he's like, if you really believe this and you think this is like legit, then there's something wrong with you. And it's just it's like all those videos that he makes showing these people who are doing this on a daily basis is just like, how can we show that? To me, it's like you have to
Honestly,
show
it's more of him, like more stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more like that. I think it's also more of like coaches not falling victim to feeling like they have to do that to get clients or get results. Like keep showing results. It might take a little bit longer. It might be a little bit more boring, but eventually people are going to find you, right? And
Yeah.
I really do believe that if you do what you need to do on a consistent basis, some people are going to find you. They're going to want to work with you because, it might not be the first 5 years or 8 years or whatever but like after 10 plus years of doing something, you should have been good enough, right? That enough people know about you and want to work with you, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's just being consistent in that way that you just get better at your craft. You do what you need to do. You post the real sides of training. You talk about the real sides of training, and you give actual insights, and people are eventually going to click on to that. And once those people grow, then that's going to change the whole loop. And I really do believe it'll come back around and kind of, find its way again, where like the best coaches in the world are the ones who are leading the charge on social media. But I just think it's realistically the best coaches don't do social media, right?
Yeah.
Or they're just not great at social media because they're probably getting paid, at the highest level, or in some capacity they just don't need it. Or really what I believe is a lot of those great coaches were just great coaches before like the social media boom, and they just never really wanted to learn it, so they don't,
I think it's also the fact that a lot of these people who are good at social media have business degrees.
Yeah.
And then like they're good with like the business and marketing stuff, which is great, but like it doesn't mean you're going to get the good coaching with it.
Yeah, and exactly. And I think that also, like, again, I think there are a lot of great social media accounts, but I just find that the ones even that I agree with, again, it's like I'm finding ones that I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's right. But then it's like you watch his videos and it's just like attacking people or, shitting on other people, or instead of like building your own self up, he's like, I don't know if you ever heard that before, but like instead of building your own building, it's like he's just tearing down others. And it's like, it's just kind of like, I don't know. I get it. I understand. And it's like, it's good to have those conversations. But I also think to a certain extent, you have to worry about what you're doing, but a lot of that content is what sells. Like people like doing the green screen on someone who's talking or doing something and giving their opinion. And it just kind of like takes off,
Yeah. I mean, I've even like tested that because I saw that a lot of people were doing it. I was like, fuck it, let me try.
Yeah.
And I did. And those videos did really well. But at the same time, like, I don't want to sit there all day and be like, all right, let's tell everybody why this person's wrong. Like, I'd rather just continue to coach and show people what I do. And that's the tricky part too, because again, if it's what sells, it's like, do I do it? Do I not do it? You have this like,
I think, like I said, I
battle.
think there's always a way to do it without being so like aggressive. Like I do think there's a lot of people. Like I see this one dude in particular. His name's like Run Nuvis Coaching. I don't know if you're.
Oh yeah, this dude, he just fucking like smashes people.
Well, and it's just like, I understand where he's coming from, and I agree with a lot of the stuff that he says.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he's when he talks. But I also think like, there's stuff to be said in what some of these guys are saying that makes a lot of sense, and like inside of that, you just need to be able to digest it, and you can talk about why it isn't right without having to like, I don't know, I guess throw someone under the bus. I guess sometimes you have to if they're just being like the guy he like goes head to head with a lot, definitely shoots back at him a lot, and it's kind of become like a little like rivalry on Instagram that I see them going back and forth with each other.
I don't know if I've seen the guy like shoot back.
Yeah, it's
at
just
him.
like some guy who claims to be like a science-based lifter and does all this stuff. Like he's a guy who's like he has like cuffs on his arms and he's going like
Oh,
this.
this
He's like rest in peace to the shoulder press or R.I.P. to the chest fly. By the way, Bro Science just came out with a science-based lifter video I have to watch soon.
Dude, you know what I hate is we need to take that term back to people who actually know what they're talking about, because there are a lot of people who say they're science-based and they're just like twisting their elbow with like cables and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's not science-based at all. It's biomechanics based, but with no progression or path. It's just moving to move. That's all that is.
And like I said, I just think a lot of it comes down to people not being themselves or understanding who they are, and they just see what works on social media, and then that influences everything else around them and how they act and how they post content and all of that. Where I think like social media can be a guiding factor for like, hey, I like how this looks, or I like the way this feels, or I like the way, the whatever, the camera shot. but you are yourself in that video, not trying to be someone else and implementing that into your social media, and then again giving up real coaching to do that, right? But I also do think like I also do think there is a balance between it, because I do think you need to be active on social media to a certain degree. You need to be sharing your information, sharing your story. Unless you're really good at like in-person marketing or like local marketing, you got that down to a T, where, you're building relationships and having those conversations and you don't really need social media, then you don't need it. Like there's a trainer at the gym that I just met where I'm working, and I had asked her, she's an older lady. I think she's been at ABC for maybe, like she said, almost 10 years now. ABC is the gym that I train at. And I was like, "Oh, do you have like a social media?" She's like, "Oh, no, I don't." And every time I've been there, she's been there from like 4 a.m. to like 2 p.m. with clients every single time. And that's says something. That means either she's got a really good reputation, or she's really good at marketing, or she's got a really good referral system working where she's filling that up and without having any social media. And like sometimes it's a dream. I'd love to do that, but I also think it's important to be on social media and to do it in the right way and find that balance. And for me, it's about the balance of obviously being active and posting, but not, again, posting for likes, posting for showing the story, showing the behind the scenes, showing the work being done to get better, sprinkling that in with some client testimonials and your own training and your own things that you're doing. And that becomes a really effective, relatable social media, in my opinion, that can change people, influence people, and then obviously gain traction for yourself to, to make real results and real change.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think it's a little bit of a mix of everything. Like, just do what you can in person and be like the best coach you can be. So not just, even if there's no cameras on, don't coach for likes, even if it's the likes of the eyes on you in the gym or the eyes of your client. And then if the cameras are on, coach for results, but maybe you can still add flair to things,
Yeah.
be yourself, add your personality to things, but just make sure that no matter what, you're doing what's best for the client.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think if you're a real coach, and you've probably had this conversation with yourself. You've probably sat there and been like, damn, like, why am I not feeling like I'm making a difference? Or why am I not feeling like social media is catching on? Or why am I not feeling like, insert whatever thought here? And I think that it really comes down to just being yourself for a very long period of time, and telling a good story. It doesn't mean you can't post, right? It doesn't mean you shouldn't post. It just means when you are doing this stuff, just be you, tell your story, tell the version of you that you think is most effective, and see how it goes and make those tweaks based on that. But don't just give up, the idea of coaching to get likes and have people, you know, follow you for no reason. Like that,
Yeah.
that to me is just like that's where you start to lose sight of the bigger goal of training, and you end up giving up what's really important, which, like you just said, is results for, you know, again, short term. What's the word I'm looking for? Validation from others around you.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
Nothing.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else to add to that either. So I guess we can get into the last part of the last episode of season 1, which is just understanding. We talked about this a little bit last time, and I think last episode was like one that hit home with me a little bit more at the end. Or well, it was like the middle of the episode we were talking about lifting into our 80s, and I kind of like sat with it, and I had a couple people that like messaged me after joking about it, but like in reality, I think that everything from this season, and I really do think this season was like, again, kind of us, I don't want to say repeating ourselves, but we did go over a lot of stuff that we have talked about in the past. But I do think with everything that we talked about in the past, if you are a coach, if you are a client, if you are somewhere in between, right? This type of stuff can help you lift until you're 80, right? Or lift into your 90s or whatever. And just the main concept of that is just build sustainable thoughts and frameworks and systems that are actually going to keep you in the gym and keep you moving for like very long periods of time, so that this isn't just a shot in the pan, right? Or a flash in the pan. And I think for me, I've said this before and I'm going to always say it, is like my goal when I started this, was to never just do it just to like get to an end point. Like to me, there is no real end point of fitness. It's just continuing to get better and understand it more and build better programs and do it until the day I fucking die. Like there's not anything else that I really want to do. There's nothing else that like, or there's very few things in life that interest me as much as this does. And I think that for me, like that concept has always been exciting to me. Like I want to be 80 years old and jacked. Like I want to be 80 years old and step into a gym and see a kid who's 26 and be like, yeah, I can still outlift you. Or be 80 years old and see someone who's in their 30s and be like, damn, I wish I was you type thing. Right. I hope I'm like you when I'm old. Like I don't want to be, like a half-ass version of that. Like I want to be doing more and be jacked and all the things when I'm 80. And that takes all this stuff. It takes following principles, right? It takes leaving methods out and only using them when necessary. It takes building a system like the BG Perform system, right? And understanding like there's a phase to build, there's a phase to sustain, and there's a phase to influence. It takes understanding from like our perspective what makes a great coach, right? And understanding like not just now, but from before and after, our time is like what's going to make a great coach, because I don't think that's going to change, right? How do we build trust? How do we build buy-in with these people? Because that's what actually gets us where we want to get in regards to getting results and actually maintaining something for so long that we can say like, hey, let's aim for this when we're 80. Again, not making mistakes, understanding what mistakes are very common in fitness and understanding like how can we avoid them, understanding autonomy, right? Understanding that at some point we have to trust ourselves to be able to do this for it to actually work. Someone can teach us, someone can guide us, but at the end of the day, if we don't have those skills or we don't have that I guess the ability to then take that information and utilize it when someone's not there with us, then we're not actually going to get as far as we possibly can. And then again, understanding what a good program looks like, understanding what a bad program looks like and how to decipher the two. And that's it. And I think at the end of the day, if you follow those things, a lot of these topics that we talked about in season 1, you're going to have a really good chance to be, lifting until you're 80 and hopefully in the gym with me and Jerry, and hopefully in there spotting us, watching us lift while we're on YouTube. Maybe we'll still be on YouTube.
Probably. We'll hire someone by then.
With cool shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Or lack thereof sleeves. Shirts with lack of sleeves.
Cutoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lack of sleeve
top.
shirts. It's called lack of sleeve.
Yeah, I got a new line of lack of sleeve shirts coming out. It's gonna be pretty lit.
We'll call them lack of sleeves from now on.
Yeah, lack of sleeve shirts.
But yeah, and I think
that's. I got some ideas for that. We're gonna have to talk about that later.
All right, good.
Yeah.
I think that's it, and I think that was probably one of the most, like one of my favorite moments and things that stuck out to me from this season was just like it's a true thing to think about of like I really do want to find out what I need to do to lift until I'm 80, right? And 80 is just a made up number, but I hope it's for however
exists.
long I live. You know what I mean?
Real.
Like, well, why not 90, right?
Yeah,
why not?
exactly.
Why not 10x it? Why
I'll
not
be
10x
lifting in
it?
the grave, buddy.
Yeah,
Lifting spirits.
Benching in the grave, yeah. But yeah, I think that's for me. That's like it's always been a goal of mine, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and that was one of the highlights for me. And then the other one would be just us kind of reacting to our own cringy moments.
Yeah,
I think
cringe
just
moments.
the things that make you just go, whether your eyes are closed or open.
Did we talk about in that episode? Wasn't there something? What were we supposed to talk about?
Oh, the leg press. Dude, I forgot about it. Okay, so that's going to be a highlight too from just
that was
this
so
season
funny.
in general for lifting. But the if you stuck around this far, you get a special treat. All right. So again, just those moments that make you cringe and the moments that make you make that face, those are important because those are moments where you realize you've grown. So don't be afraid to look back at those moments. Speaking of moments, okay?
Yeah, we were actually going to tell this story. Go ahead.
Oh, dude, I'm going to tell this story. It's going to be one of the ones that I tell my freaking grandkids. Brandon and I were having a discussion about how he thought I wasn't pushing hard enough in the gym, and I was like, buddy, you don't understand. I push pretty hard. And sure as shit,
Literally.
Yeah, sure shit. I'm in the gym and it was a leg day. And if you haven't been with me on a leg day, I got these scrawny ass legs, but they move weight. Okay, I'm always pushing heavy. I was pushing extra hard this day because I was on the leg press. I finished the set and I was like, damn, someone must have crop dusted me over here. And I stood up, I looked around, I was like, no one just walked by and no one's around me. Did I fart during this set? And I was like, damn, that stinks. And then it just didn't go away and I was like, did I fucking shit myself? So I was like, oh God, I hope I didn't. And I ran to the bathroom. You're going to hear this train come by really quick. That's about how fast I went to the bathroom, was how fast that train was going by my house just now. But I like sped walked to the bathroom, and luckily no one was there, so I wouldn't be like crop dusting them if I had shit myself. I went to the bathroom, and it was like just a tiny bit. I did. I did. It didn't get on underwear or anything. It didn't escape the cheeks. It was sealed in the crack. All right. It was all cocked up in the one area. So, and it was a tiny bit. But I texted Brandon and I was like, I don't ever want to hear you tell me I don't fucking push hard enough ever again, because that leg press really brought it out of me. All right. So if you made it this far, you get a little special treat of, sometimes we shit ourselves in the gym.
Jerry pushed too hard.
I pushed way too hard, and I'm not ashamed of it. Honestly, it's a funny story. I'll be telling that till the day I die.
Yeah, so, I think that's a perfect spot to end season 1.
Oh, it was a spot.
Episode 8. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and being here for all 8 episodes. We will be back soon with season 2 with the topic or main kind of idea of health and performance mastery. Basically, we want to teach you guys how everyday people build their foundation, and I'm excited to dive into that a little bit more. And yeah, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now go ahead.
Last thing.
Yeah.
If you have enjoyed this season and you've listened to the episodes and you are this far into the final episode of the season, please do us a favor, drop a comment, let us know like what you thought. If you have any suggestions or things, share it with a friend. Get this podcast out there. So
subscribe on YouTube.
Exactly.
Subscribe on Spotify. Download the videos. Download the episodes. And we will see you guys next time.